Before I begin my story, please subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell, and give this video a like. It truly helps me share more stories like this with you. My name is Margaret, though everyone calls me Maggie, and I am 72 years old. If you had asked me a decade ago whether I believed love could find me again at this age, I would have laughed and shaken my head. I would have told you that love belonged to the young, to those with fresh faces and endless years stretched before them. I would have told you my story was already written, already finished. The last chapter closed when my husband Richard died after 48 years of marriage. But life, in its stubborn way, surprised me. I married Richard when I was barely 21. He was steady, warm, and dependable, the kind of man who made the ordinary feel like treasure. We had 2 children together, bought a modest home, and built a life that was never perfect, but always strong. There were hard years, money troubles, arguments that stretched into silence, days when raising children tested every ounce of patience we had, but we endured them, and in enduring, we deepened. I loved him with the kind of love that grows not from flowers and fireworks, but from roots planted deep in the soil of everyday life. When he died 7 years ago, after a long illness, the silence in the house was deafening. I had grown used to his voice filling the rooms, his footsteps creaking down the hall, his hand reaching for mine during late-night television. Without him, the air felt thinner. I filled my days with small obligations, church groups, knitting circles, gardening, but every night I returned to a house that felt more like a museum than a home. People told me I was lucky to have had such a long and loving marriage, and they meant well, but grief doesn't measure luck. It only measures absence. I resigned myself to loneliness. I told myself my romantic life had ended, that what remained for me was memory and the quiet comfort of my grandchildren's visits. And for a while, I believed that. Until one spring afternoon, my daughter insisted I attend a painting class at the local community center. I resisted at first, but she gently pushed, saying I needed to stay active and meet new people. Almost didn't go, but something in me, some restless flicker, said yes. That is how I first saw Arthur. He was tall, though a little bent, with age, with silver hair and eyes that reminded me of storm clouds, restless, but capable of great beauty. He sat at the easel next to mine, holding his brush like a man uncertain of his hand. When he noticed me glancing at him, he smiled shyly, and I felt something stir inside me that I hadn't felt in decades. He leaned toward me and whispered, "I've never painted anything that didn't look like a crooked fence." I laughed, the sound surprising me. "Then I suppose we'll make crooked art together." That simple exchange became the beginning of something I never expected, week after week. We sat side by side in that painting class. We were both terrible at first. Our landscapes bled into blurs. Our portraits looked like strangers, and our flowers drooped on the canvas. But we laughed together, and that laughter softened something in me I hadn't realized was still hardened. After class, we began going for coffee. Our conversation started with small things: the weather, the paint, the grandkids, but soon deepened. Arthur told me about his life, about his wife Eleanor, whom he had lost 10 years before. He described her with reverence and love, and I could feel the weight of his grief. I told him about Richard, about our children, about the long nights of caring for someone ill, and the longer nights after he was gone. There was no judgment between us, only understanding. We recognized in each other the familiar ache of loss, and in that recognition, something new began to bloom. One afternoon, sitting together on a park bench under cherry trees just beginning to blossom, Arthur looked at me and said, "I thought my heart was too old for this. Here you are, making it beat foolishly again." His words undid me. My eyes filled with tears, and I admitted I thought the same thing. Still, falling in love at 70 is not simple. My daughter worried at first. She asked if I was sure, if I wasn't just lonely, if I could really let another man into my heart without betraying my husband's memory. My son said quietly, "It feels too soon to replace Dad." Those words pierced me, because Arthur was not a replacement. No one could ever erase Richard. Love doesn't replace, it adds. My love for Richard was real, deep, eternal. But my heart still had room. Arthur's children struggled too. His eldest son was polite when we met, but distant, almost suspicious. His daughter asked him bluntly why he would complicate things now when he had already lived so much of his life. For a while, we wondered if perhaps they were right. Maybe we were being foolish, selfish, grasping at something we shouldn't. But each time doubt tried to pull us apart, we returned to each other. We could not deny the joy we felt when we were together, the ease, the laughter, the companionship. That made the days brighter and the nights less heavy. At an age when so much had been taken from us, we found something we thought we'd never touch again. One evening, we cooked dinner together at his apartment. It was nothing grand spaghetti with too much garlic bread, but as we sat at the table laughing at the overcooked noodles, he reached across, took my hand, and said, "Maggie, we don't know how much time we have left. But whatever time we do have, I want to spend it with you, fully, without shame, without fear." His words stayed with me. Love in your 70s isn't about plans decades ahead. It isn't about mortgages or raising children or climbing ladders. It's about savoring the present, about holding joy carefully, like something fragile, and refusing to let fear steal it away. Eventually, our families softened. My daughter saw how happy I looked, how my laughter had returned. And one afternoon she hugged me and whispered, "Mom, you look alive again. I think Dad would want this for you." Arthur's daughter, after many months of hesitation, came to lunch at my home. She watched as Arthur played with my grandchildren, as he gently placed a shawl on my shoulders when the breeze picked up. Later, she told me quietly, "I think Mom would be glad you're not alone." And just like that, the walls began to fall. On my 71st birthday, Arthur surprised me. He brought me back to the community center where we had first met. He had secretly asked the instructor to keep the first paintings we ever made, crooked as they were. He pulled them out of a drawer, placed them side by side, and smiled. "We may not be perfect artists," he said, "but I think we're a masterpiece together. Will you marry me?" I felt my heart swell in a way I hadn't thought possible. Again, at 71, I said yes to forever. We were married a few months later in a small ceremony beneath those same cherry trees. It wasn't grand, but it was beautiful. Our children stood beside us, our grandchildren scattered petals on the ground. Our friends from the community center cheered. We laughed, we cried, we promised each other not years, but days, and to live each one fully. Now, as I sit here sharing this story with you, I want to tell anyone listening this: love doesn't have an expiration date. It doesn't belong only to the young, to those with smooth skin and decades ahead. Love belongs to anyone brave enough to open their heart again, no matter how many years have already passed. Richard will always be part of me. That love will never die. But Arthur is part of me too, and he doesn't erase what came before. He adds to it. My heart is larger now, stretched by grief, by memory, and by the courage to let love in again. At 72, I am living proof that it is never too late. If you enjoyed this story, please subscribe to the channel, activate the notification bell, and give this video a like. Your support helps me share more stories like this one.
Thank you.
For listening.